So I feel like I'm kind of on a roll here with the videos today, and I wanted to talk about a topic that I have been thinking about a lot lately, which is things to um, look out for when you're purchasing silicone babies online. That's pretty much one of the only or main ways to purchase dolls at this point, I would think. Sometimes you can find them through word of mouth if you are just, you know a lot of collectors or whatever. But most of the time, you're going to be shopping for them online at this point. Sometimes you can go to doll shows and you can buy dolls there, which I've heard is a really good way to do it because you can actually hold the babies and you can feel them. You can, physically see the way they're sculpted and the way they're painted in person, and you can really get an accurate representation of the doll. Prefacing the video, of course, I know I keep going back to Nala, but I'm just so happy with her that it's kind of hard to not go back to talking about her every time the topic of dolls comes up on my channel. But when I bought Nala, in the video that the artist Nikita Brown did, where she was showing the babies that she made in this edition, they looked much lighter than she does in person. I know right now my lighting is kind of dark because it's getting late here where I live. The sun is starting to go down. I'm recording this later in the day, later in the evening, and she does look a little bit. Well, I would say her color is pretty accurate to what I see right now on camera. But in the video that she made, the babies looked a lot lighter than she looks in like dim light or even in bright sunlight. I still feel like for whatever reason in that particular video, the babies just looked lighter than they look to me, and then Nala looks to me in, my home, even in direct sunlight when I'm holding her. She just looks darker to me, and I'm honestly really happy about that because to me she has more of an ethnic or AA skin tone, even though she was advertised as biracial, and in the video her skin tone is lighter. In person, as well as on camera, the video I'm showing you guys right now, she looks to be AA or ethnic, which is what I prefer for my collection. I've shared that in other videos before, and I'm really happy about that. Um, but I think it's a good lesson that sometimes what you see on the screen may not necessarily be how a baby will come. I have purchased dolls that I thought looked biracial, and then when I got the baby, they looked Caucasian. And I'm not saying there is a problem with that or that the artist did something wrong or anything. It just sometimes when you look at things on computer screens, phone screens, tablet screens, TV screens, whatever you're looking at it on your laptop screen, they can look a lot different than they do in person. The same thing goes for painting, colors, like all kinds of things look different. So one of the things to keep in mind when you're buying a silicone baby is that, especially when you start getting into like the ethnic, biracial um, kind of skin tones, the baby may not arrive exactly the same skin tone in the pictures. And I think when you're shopping for dolls, it's important to keep that in mind and that you should be okay with that. So if you're shopping for an ethnic or a biracial baby, um, just remember that even if the person took pictures in natural lighting, even if the person, took studio pictures, because I'm pretty sure Nikita Brown takes like professional, the pictures look professional, studio pictures, things like that. Of course, when I got Nala, to me, she looks darker than she does in her pictures, as well as on the video. I'm not mad at it. I'm really happy about it. But there might be a collector that would be in this situation and would say that, you know, they felt like they were ripped off or they felt like the doll wasn't represented properly. We all know that there's been a lot of controversy going on in the community with people having buyer's remorse and all kinds of things like that. And I've experienced buyer's remorse plenty of times. I would say out of all the dolls that I bought in the past year, Nala is probably the only one that I don't have any buyer's remorse at all about, like not even an ounce. Like I'm extremely happy with my purchase and I'm so glad that I have her in my collection. Like like I'm so glad that I was able to get her, basically. And I don't regret buying her at all. And I can't even imagine selling her right now. So, um, you know, that's where I am with it. But we've all experienced buyer's remorse at one point in time. Even if it was just a small inkling of buyer's remorse, we've all experienced it. And it really sucks when it happens. But just keep in mind that when you're looking at the pictures of these dolls, that the skin tone may not be completely the same as it will be when you get it in person, especially depending on your lighting. I mean, you may have yellow lighting in your house, and then when you get the doll, it looks really yellow. But when you look at the artist pictures, it doesn't look like that. Well, it could be the lighting in your house. Natural lighting can make things look differently, and natural lighting changes all the time, depending on whether it's cloudy, it's dark, it's sunny. Um, all those kinds of things can also affect natural lighting. So keep in mind that the way the doll looks on your computer screen may not be the same way that it looks when it comes home, um, for various reasons. Just the way silicones look in person, and the way they look on the screen, coloring, things like that. So, the most popular places to shop for reborns and silicones, but in this video we're going to be talking about silicones specifically. I would say that the most popular places to go to buy silicone babies are definitely Facebook, because I have purchased, how many dolls have I gotten? I think I've only purchased one baby from Facebook personally, but I know that Facebook is a great place to go. A lot of people post in groups, but you do have to be careful of scammers and things like that, which I'll talk about in a moment. Number two is eBay, and then I would say after that would be Etsy and reborns.com. Now, there are some independent sites that I'm not really going to go over in this video because I don't personally have experience with them. So, for example, there is the Doll Connection store that sells a ton of different dolls, but I think they do have quite a few silicone babies on there, quite a few full body silicone babies by Tasha Edenholm, who is a pretty popular artist in the community, that you can purchase babies from. So you can go on there and see what they have. I have not personally dealt with Doll Connection store, but they do have awesome reviews, and everybody says that they're a good business to work with. As far as the other ones, of course, artists have their own websites like Claire Taylor. I don't know why I always hit this roadblock, but I don't really know too many other artists that I personally have looked into purchasing from. Donna Khan, who I purchased my baby Sella from, she has her own website. Her website is donnasdarlingsreborns.com. So a lot of independent artists also have a website where they sell dolls, and you can go to their individual websites, but we're not going to be talking about that because that's a whole other can of worms to open, and most of the people that have websites are already established independent artists, so I'm not necessarily saying to trust them because I don't know every website that's out there, but quite a few, reputable artists do have their own websites, and that's fine if you want to order from them and you trust the artist and all of that. So, getting started with Facebook, the best way to buy dolls on Facebook is to go through Facebook groups. There are plenty of Facebook groups for silicone dolls. I haven't really looked on Marketplace very often. I really just look at the listings in these silicone groups. And honestly, some of the listings in the silicone groups are great because you're getting the dolls directly from collectors who have most likely had the dolls for a long time in their collection, or they're reputable buyers, like they, don't cause a whole lot of drama, hopefully. And most of the time they're selling their dolls at a pretty good price because it's kind of like direct collector to collector. Most of the people in these groups, most of them have silicone babies already, and it's just a really good place to go if you're interested in purchasing from somebody who has experience with silicone and all of that. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. Because I've been talking for like 30 minutes recording these videos straight, so my throat was getting a little dry. That's one of the places you can go, is to these silicone groups. And again, there is Marketplace, but I don't have much experience with Marketplace, so I can't really speak for that. But if it's in a silicone group, most likely the person has silicone babies and things like that. Now, I did have an experience where I almost got scammed in a silicone group, and that could be a whole video on its own, um, where I can explain what almost happened with that. But I'll probably do that video at another time because, again, that's a whole video on its own. But um, one of the things that I would definitely recommend if you're going to be purchasing from anybody in a Facebook group is to, number one, definitely have a safety photo. If you don't know what that is, it's pretty much just a picture of the doll, and then they have a piece of paper or a card or something on it with the name of the doll, the sculpt, the artist, the current date, like today's date, the day you want to buy it on, that date, their name on Facebook, and preferably also they can make one with your name on there as well. But that's not a necessity. But just make sure that they have a valid safety photo with that information on it, proving that they actually do own the doll, because anybody can get pictures of a baby or even a video of a baby and post it up and say it's theirs, and it's not. So just be careful of that. So you'll need a safety photo if you're purchasing on Facebook. So that's something that's really important to keep in mind. Another thing is, I actually like to ask for video of the doll. Video of the doll, meaning say, hey, just can you take me a video, just like a short video, just showing the baby, squeezing its mouth or, holding its arm or whatever you want to see in the video, just to demonstrate flexibility or that it is a silicone or whatever. Again, just another way of hopefully proving that the person actually owns the doll, because if they don't own it, then it's going to be hard for them to show you a video, right? Unless that the person that that they stole the pictures from has a YouTube channel and they can steal video from that. But it's really rare. A lot of people don't show their dolls on YouTube in that way. Like, they don't usually show like quick clips of their dolls. I mean, I'm sure you could probably try to figure out a way to fake it, but it's going to be hard for that person to get a video pretty much of a lot of these dolls. Another thing that I saw that was a common problem in Facebook groups was the payment process. So a lot of people, that when they would buy these dolls, they would say, oh, well, the person asked me, can I send it friends and family, and things like that. You should never send anyone money for goods and services via friends and family. Always send it via PayPal goods and services. Even if the seller tells you, hey, you're going to have to pay an additional fee in order to use goods and services, it's worth it to just use goods and services, because if anything goes wrong and you pay them via friends and family, there's nothing you can do to get your money back, because technically that was a gift. It wasn't for services. It was just money that you sent to somebody, and you can't get it back unless the person just wants to send you your money back. And if they scammed you, you're probably not going to get your money back. So sending it via goods and services is always a good idea. Whenever I've bought dolls, whenever I've sold dolls, everything always went through goods and services for both my protection and the seller's protection, and the buyer's protection, sorry. Additionally, if somebody buys a baby from you and they want to open a case, if you have goods and services, that's protection for the seller as well. Even though if you pay somebody via friends and family, it's going to be hard to open up a case, but I'm just saying, just in case they did, if everything was through goods and services, it's very nice to have that protection for both seller and buyer. So that's some of the things that you can keep in mind on Facebook. You also might want to look up in these groups, just kind of search their name and see if they've sold dolls to anybody else before. And if they have, you can reach out to them and see how the transaction went with them and that person. If you're unsure or you don't really know this person or something seems kind of sketchy, you can just look into that. I already have a video on pricing of silicone dolls and like the average prices. Again, I'm not saying that these prices are rigid. Definitely dolls can fall outside of those price ranges, but just keep that in mind. Also, if a price is too low and it seems like it's too good to be true, it probably is. If a price is exorbitantly low for a baby that looks like it's good, high quality and all of that, it's probably not going to be the doll you're going to get. Or the baby has issues that the person didn't mention, like they have peeling paint, they aren't matted properly, anything could be going wrong if they're selling it for such a low price and that it should be worth more. I think at this point in the community, maybe some people that are new, they may not know about the prices for these dolls, but honestly, like I said in my previous video, as far as prices, if you're getting a new doll, that is made by a reputable artist, that's painted very realistically, that doesn't have major boo-boos or major mess ups in the doll. You know, their hair is rooted or painted in a professional kind of, you know, nice way, where the hair is rooted one hair at a time, or the painted hair is just done really well. You know, all of these things, if the baby has a drinking wet, if they have armatures, if they have, you know, super soft silicone, all of these things are going to cost, you know, a price. And the prices that I gave in my previous video, I said that the lowest I've seen, which is for like a micro preemie or a preemie baby, I would say they kind of start at 1,500, and the beginner starting price for a newborn is like 3,000, but I've seen them go up way more than that. So again, if it's not within those price ranges, and it's not a boo boo baby, I would be a little bit concerned. I would just want to make sure that I'm not getting scammed. Like, I would be asking for videos, pictures, all kinds of things, just to make sure that it's not a scam. Or if it's an older baby, because if you are getting an older baby, typically, you know, with silicone, you're not going to be able to get what you paid for it if it's older, even if it is in good condition. It's going to be rare that you're going to be able to get exactly what you paid for the doll. So just keep that in mind as well. Silicones and all kinds of dolls really don't gain value as they age. They lose value because, you know, the longer you have a baby, it's exposed to the elements of your home. Even if your home is in excellent condition, even if you keep the baby on display and you don't change it, you don't play with it, it's still an older baby. And that's just kind of how it goes in the doll community. You're probably not going to get what you paid for the doll if it's not new, like brand new. And that's reasonable because, you know, you don't know what this person has done with the baby. I mean, they can say it's been on display and they could have changed it 1,000 times. You know, you don't know that. So if it's an older doll, typically you're not going to get what you paid for it when you go to sell it. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Facebook and Facebook buying on Facebook, excuse me. When I bought dolls on Facebook, I did all of those things and I did not get scammed. I just wasn't happy with the baby, but that was just me having like buyer's remorse. And not I don't know, I just wasn't bonding with the baby, and that's not fault of the seller or of the artist. I just personally wasn't bonding with the doll, so I sold the baby, and the person that has him now is very happy with him, and, you know, I'm very happy about that. So sometimes we do have buyer's remorse. Okay, so moving on, because the video has gotten increasingly darker as we've moved on. Actually, let me see if I can open up my blinds and get a little bit more light in here so that we can take advantage of whatever sunlight's left. There we go. So moving on into purchasing dolls from eBay. So eBay lately has been under fire by a lot of these doll groups as well, because a lot of people believe that eBay has not really been treating collectors right, in the sense that people are allowed to use pictures of others' dolls on eBay. So on eBay, you do have to be really careful, because of course on eBay you can't really ask for safety videos or safety pictures. That's just not something that you can ask for on eBay, because it's just a seller kind of connection. So you can't actually ask for that kind of stuff on eBay, unfortunately. So that makes it kind of hard if you want to buy a baby from eBay, because you kind of just have to go by the pictures and hope for the best. Most of the time, people don't post safety photos on eBay. I've never seen a doll with a safety photo on there, because you don't really need one, I guess, because it's eBay, whatever. eBay says that they have buyer protection. Whether or not that's actually true, we may never know. So we don't actually know whether or not that's, you know, true. I don't know. I've never had to do a chargeback on eBay or ever had to make a claim, thankfully. So because I've never had to do that, I don't have any experience with eBay or their whole system, so I don't know how that actually works. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But eBay is kind of like going out on a limb, because unless it's an experienced artist that has an experienced account on there, you don't really know what you're getting, because there's no safety photos, there's no videos. You just kind of have to go off of the pictures and the description that they post. So that's the only thing about shopping on eBay that I would warn you all of, is that you just don't really know. But I have bought dolls on eBay and I haven't had a problem, so that's just been my personal experience. The same thing on Etsy is that I haven't had a problem buying dolls on Etsy either. One thing that I have noticed on Etsy, however, is an increase in people that are posting Ivita dolls on Etsy. So what I mean by that is some people post Ivita dolls that they have painted and rooted and all of that, and I actually don't, have a problem with that. If you want to purchase an Ivita doll, you can do you and live your life and do what you want. So I don't have a problem with people doing that. If you want to buy an Ivita doll and paint it and root it and sell it, that's on you. That's your prerogative. But they don't disclose to the buyer. Some of these people are not disclosing to the buyer that they actually didn't sculpt that baby, that it is an Ivita doll. So some people are probably buying these babies unaware of what Ivita even is, and they're just buying them thinking that they're getting this artist-made silicone doll, and thinking that they're getting this, this quality doll or whatever, and it's turning out that the doll, I'm not saying Ivita dolls aren't quality, but it's turning out that they're getting an Ivita doll that's been painted. And I don't have a problem with people having Ivitas. I just want these sellers to be upfront with people about what they're getting and say, hey, look, I did not sculpt this baby. I did not pour this baby. This is a, doll that I purchased from China or wherever they got it. And, I just painted it and rooted it. And some of the prices for some of the Ivita dolls that have been painted and rooted is really high, which I guess is okay, because you do have to charge for your work and the supplies that you use and stuff like that. But yeah, so I would say just be aware of that as well. So if you want Ivita dolls, just be aware of that. You will probably be paying a premium for an Ivita. And in my opinion, I would say if you're going to spend $1,000, let's say, on an Ivita doll that's been painted and rooted, I would say I personally would rather just save up a little bit more money and get a baby that isn't an Ivita. I don't have anything against Ivita dolls. I had them once before myself, but just comparing the quality of Ivita dolls versus, when I collected like Nala and other babies, it's just unmatched. And I think that's okay to say. These dolls are made by, an artist. They're poured. The artists have their own mix that they like to use for silicone. And, you know that the silicone is EcoFlex 20. You're not asking, well, what kind of silicone is this? And, things like that. So I would personally say that I would rather just spend my money on a different baby. But that's just me personally. If that's all you have and you want an Ivita, there are accounts out there. I've only seen them on Etsy, I think. I've only seen a few on eBay, but they're mostly on Etsy that repaint Ivita dolls, and they sell them for prices that are less than what you'll pay for like in something like Nala or other type of silicones within the price range that I shared. So those are available as well. So that's pretty much it as far as what I have for like website specific information. And yeah, so that's all I have to say for website specific info. But I am going to share just some general tips and things that you should look out for in the listing on any website that will help you. So first things first, one of the things that I actually saw pop up in another group was talking about whether or not the dolls are from a smoke and pet-free home. Now, some people may not think this is important. If you smoke or you have pets, you probably don't think that's an important thing to ask. But if you don't smoke and you don't have pets, or even if you do have pets, it's still something to look into, because if a doll is coming from a smoking home, 9 times out of 10 the doll is going to smell like smoke, and it's going to be extremely hard, if not impossible, to get that smell out of the doll. Now, for some people, that may not be a problem. Again, if you smoke, you may not care. But if you don't smoke, or even if you do, and you don't want your doll to smell like smoke, then that's something that you need to make sure that the person has listed, whether or not it's a smoke-free home. And if they haven't listed it, you can always ask that and say, hey, is this coming from a smoke-free home? If not, please let me know. Of course, they could always lie and say it's coming from a smoke-free home, but you hope that people wouldn't do that, right? um, you would hope that people would be honest in how they're representing the doll. So, um, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So just make sure that the dolls that you're getting are coming from a smoke-free home. My recommendation, because you don't want to risk anything smelling like smoke. Even if they've been kept in a separate room, even if the person only smokes outside, whatever the case may be, sometimes the smoke can still get on the dolls, and you don't want to be dealing with that. So you want to make sure that the doll is coming from a smoke-free home. Okay, another thing to look out for is information. Again, I was talking about Ivita dolls. Look out for information on the artist. If it's not an Ivita doll or another type of, um, branded doll, then they will give you an artist name. They'll give you, a person who reborn the baby, or painted the baby, rooted the baby. There will be information on that. People's names will be given. It won't just say, this is a doll that's been painted by me. It's going to say information about the sculpting, who did the sculpting, possibly who poured the baby, who painted the baby. All that stuff is going to be in the description box always. That's like a number one thing to look out for. And if they don't tell you, then it's probably because it's an Ivita doll or something like that. And if you don't mind collecting them, that's fine. But if you're not looking for that, then that's something to look out for. Information on the silicone softness. Is it EcoFlex 20? Is it EcoFlex 30? Is it 10? Is it a custom blend? Is it a marshmallow blend? What kind of silicone are they using? I don't think anybody makes babies in dragon skin anymore. There might be a few artists that still do, but it's just something to ask, especially if you are looking for a certain kind of silicone. If it's your first silicone baby, you probably won't care, because you don't really know, you may not really know much about what kind of silicone you like just yet. But if you have a specific kind of silicone you want, definitely make sure to ask. Some obvious things, at least to me, you should ask if they have drinking wet system, armatures, just in case. I don't know. Again, Nala has a drinking wet, and that was really important to me because I love having a baby that has a drinking wet system. The newborn baby that I just bought does not have a drinking wet system, unfortunately, but I was okay with that when I made the purchase. But, for me, that's just something I personally like to ask. Another thing is, how long have they owned the doll? How long has the doll been in their possession? Age is a really important thing for silicone babies, because even if they have been stored away, I don't think we really know how long silicone lasts. I don't think they've been around long enough where we kind of know how long it lasts. I know that there are some people that have had some silicone babies for many years and they still look great, but it's always just something to ask. How long have you owned this doll? How many previous owners has this doll had? Are you the second mommy, the third mommy, the fourth, the first? Like, what are you? Because sometimes if a doll has passed through too many different hands, you don't really know what each of these people, like how each of them are taking care of the doll, what kind of conditions the doll has been stored in. You don't really know this information depending on, how many different owners the doll has had. So just keep that in mind as well. I already talked about the price, red flags, and the prices. If the price is too good to be true, it probably is, unless there's something wrong with it, like it has boo-boos, peeling paint, tears in the silicone. It's really shiny, meaning the matting is kind of faded away. The hair is not right, like the hair has balding or something's going on that may need to be repaired with the doll, basically. So the doll is not in pristine condition. Maybe you can get it for a good price. If it's a beginner artist, you can probably get it for a good price. If the baby's older, like if the person's owned the doll more than 5 years, let's say, you might be able to get it at a good price. But outside of those things, I would say I can't really think of anything else at this time that would warrant a doll being way less than the average running price for a silicone. Um, oh, I also forgot to mention that outside of Ivitas, there are some people that make um, lesser expensive silicone babies, such as silicone snuggle babies on Etsy, as well as some other, a couple other people, I believe, that do sculpt their own dolls and make them. They aren't Ivitas, they actually sculpt them, mold them, paint them, and do all of that. I don't think any of these companies offer rooting though, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Silicone Snuggle Babies does now offer painted hair and armatures, not armatures, and a drink and wet system, but no armatures. So there are people that do make lesser expensive silicone babies, and obviously those don't apply to the rules that we just said as far as price, because they're specifically listed to be, lesser priced. Some of the differences that these dolls may have is, I'm gonna say like the sculpting is gonna be a little bit more. I don't want to say basic, but it's going to be more simple kind of sculpting for the most part. I'm not saying, all the time, but it's going to be more of like a simple kind of sculpting. It's not going to have a whole lot of realism to the sculpt, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion. That's not to throw the artist under the bus or anything like that. This is just saying for the price, you're not really going to get, the high, the high price sculpting and things like that. It's going to be more basic, which is fine. As far as the painting, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of paint on the baby. From what I've seen, the babies, they aren't blank. They do have some paint on them, but you're not going to get like the fully painted experience like you would get with a more costly silicone baby. And you are probably, I would say, not going to get rooted hair. Probably not going to get armatures. As far as I know, Silicone Snuggle Babies is one of the only ones that does the drink and wet system right now in the lesser expensive dolls. And then also another thing is that, as far as like, basically when you make silicone dolls, they have a little pour spout on the top of their head. I pretty much all of them do have the little pour spout at the top, because that's where the silicone pours into the mold, right? And the pour spout is going to have, it's going to be sticking out of the doll. It's going to leave a mark on the head. And on, more higher end silicone babies, the artist actually goes in and smooths that out. Now, I don't know exactly how they do that because I'm not an artist, but they do smooth out the pour spout. They remove any seams that are on the baby, if there are any seams. I would say large majority of the high end babies are poured in like a one piece mold, so they shouldn't really have seams besides the pour spout at the top of the head. Because most of them are poured in a one piece mold. Now, of course, they may have some seams somewhere, but if they do, then the artist will smooth those out so that the doll doesn't have any seams, it doesn't have a pour spout, it doesn't have a mark on the head, it doesn't have any imperfections outside of the normal, silicone imperfections. But for some of these less expensive companies, they don't do that. They do not smooth out seams. They will probably trim off the pour spout at the top, but there's still going to be the mark left there from the pour spout. For example, my silicone snuggle baby has that. She also has seams. My silicone baby Amal and Manny, I don't know if they had seams. I feel like they did. And then they also had like a spot at the top of their head where the pourer was. So for the lesser expensive dolls, they're not going to probably go through the additional work to remove those things. They're just going to leave them on. And again, that's something that you have to be okay with if you're going to get a lesser expensive baby. So those are the things that you need to keep in mind if you want a lesser expensive doll. It's probably not going to be super realistic from what I've seen. Again, that's not a knock on the artist or anything. That's just my opinion. They are not going to be super realistic. They're not going to have a lot of paint. They're not going to be, have the best. I'm not going to say the best, but they're not going to have the most detailed. That's a better word. They're not going to have the most detailed sculpting. They are going to have small imperfections like pore spots and seams and things like that. And if that's something that you don't want, then you're probably not going to be able to get a baby outside of, a specific price range, unless there's some other things going on with it or it's older. So I think that's it as far as the tips that I have for buying full body silicone babies. Again, this is for full body babies. I don't know much about partials um, because I'm not very familiar with partials. I've never had a partial silicone myself, but there are plenty of people that have made videos on partial silicones. But hopefully, in my next few videos, I can be a bit more concise because I know I can kind of go on and on and on and on and on. But I was in a video recording mood today, so I decided to sit down and record some videos for you all so I can have something to post for the rest of the week. And I hope to make my unboxing video soon of my new baby. I'm so excited to get her home. So I hope you all enjoyed this little chit chat, just talking about things to look out for when purchasing silicones, where to get them, how much about they'll cost, and some lesser expensive alternatives that may not necessarily have the most realism, but they will be a joy to someone out there that is looking for a full body silicone baby. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, dame un like, suscríbete a mi canal. Adiós y nos vemos en un otro video. Bye, you guys. We'll see you in our next one.